Hello guys and welcome back. So in the last video we signed up our user, and then after I signed up our user we also made the method to log in the user. But what happens is when we stop the application, it's starting us from the sign in screen even if we are logged in. Okay, so what we're supposed to do is when we start the application, it should check if we are signed in and then take us direct to the home screen. If we're not signed in, that's when we get to this screen. Okay, so let's go ahead and create that. So here, the other thing that we can do if we want to seriously make these checks in the sign up screen, what we're supposed to do is after this user is created, we need to send the verification email to this email. Okay, if we want to verify that this is a valid email. Okay, so maybe here after user credential is not now here, before we do anything, first we need to verify or send email verification. Okay, so after we send the email verification, and then we ask the user to go and verify their email, and then only after when they verify their email, that's when now we can go ahead and do these things for adding the user data to Firestore. Okay, but yeah, we're not going to do that now because this course is not really about authentication. But if you would like, you guys, we can do all those verifications, sending email verification, and then coming back to the sign in screen, we can also do the forget password and verify email, all those requirements to just to verify that this is a valid email. Okay, but right now we're not doing that. We just want to sign in and then start doing the online play with our chess game. Okay, but if you guys you really need that email verification and password reset, I can do a video for that as well. Okay, so right now we are going to skip this email verification part. We're just going to go ahead and log in. Okay, so since we have already created the method to log in, let's now create the method to check if this user is logged in, and then we just go direct to the home screen. So for that, let's create another screen. So here on the authentication, let's right click and then create a new file. Let's call this as a landing screen .dat. So here let's make it a stateful widget. Let's say landing screen, and then here all we have to do in the landing screen is first let's return a scaffold. So maybe let's also put let's give it a body, and then this body let's just say a center widget, and then the child we're just going to give it this will just be a loading icon, or we can just show this chess icon. Okay, so let's go to the login screen. Here's our chess icon. We can just copy this, go back to the landing screen and paste that. Okay, let's import this. So this is our landing screen. So let's see how it looks. So let's go to the main.dat. Then here let's also add the landing screen constants, the landing screen, and then let's have a context. So this will retain our constant of landing screen. Okay, like that. And then the initial route, instead of the login screen here, let's put our landing screen. Okay, Then let's go on ahead and restart. So it's starting from the landing screen. Okay, so now here all we want to do is just to put this like a loading, showing that the game is starting. Okay, so what we can do is maybe we can also put some words below, but let's just keep it like this. And then what else? Let's go in the landing screen. So here we only want to show this while the application is loading, or we can show a progress indicator or whatever you want to show here, okay, as a loading. Okay, so here when it's loading we want to check the authentication. Okay, so let's create a method. So let's give it a comment, check authentication state. Let's give it like that, so which means if is signed in or not. Okay, so let's create this method, void check authentication state, like that. So let's first call the our auth provider, final auth provider. It should be equals to context dot read. We want to read inside the authentication provider, like that. And then down here now let's check if it's signed in variable. Okay, so let's say if, so we have to check the is signed in, which is where is our method, check is signed in, this one. Okay, so this is a future, so we need to wait for it. So let's add an async keyword here. Then let's say if await auth provider dot check authentication. Okay, so if this is true, if the user is signed in, what we're going to do, so number one, we're going to get user data from Firestore. Number two, we're going to also get user data from shared preferences. And then number three, after we get this data, we're going to navigate to home screen. Okay, like that. And then in the else, this is when we're going to navigate to the sign-in screen. Okay, so here that's where we navigate to the login screen to log in the user if they are not signed in. Okay, so navigate to the sign-in screen. So let's create that method to navigate. So let's say is signed in. This one is going to be false. Okay, like that. So we can click here and then create this method. Then down here we say if is signed in, we should say is signed Let's copy that and paste it here. Then let's do the same here. So if it's signed in, you are going to navigate to the home screen. So let's say navigator dot push named. We have to push replacement named so that we remove everything. So push replacement named, and then we want to go to constants, home screen. So let's import this constant. So here we say home screen. So here we navigate to home screen if it's signed in, and then let's copy it in the else. Let's navigate to login screen. Okay, great. So now we can also call this here, and then let's get the user data from Firestore. Let's say await auth provider dot get user data from Firestore, that method. And then the other thing is, let's go to this method. Okay, so here you can see that we are getting this UID from up here. So if he's signed in, we should, let's just get the UID from Firebase auth. Okay, because if we are getting this when we are checking in the landing screen here, it may be the user that closed the application or they exited the app like this, sliding it up. So maybe this may have not been saved, this UID. Okay, this UID, so because this UID is only being set when you are authentication here. But if you are signed in, the Firebase auth, this one will always be authenticated. Okay, so let's change this one. If you are using this, let's put the Firebase auth dot current user dot UID. Okay, like that. It's the same, but it's only this is sure when you are signed in, because the Firebase auth will always be authenticated as long as you haven't signed out. But this may be now if we have not recently done this method of signing up the user or creating the user account. Okay, I hope I'm clear about that. So let's go to the landing screen. So we have done get user data from Firestore. So after we do this method, which is this, so now we are refreshing this again, so now we can use it again. So after we do this, we get the user data. We go to, let's go back to the landing screen. What's our comment here? Get user data from shared preferences. So this is actually wrong. Here you should save, not get, because we are getting from Firestore. Remember when you come back here, so we are getting the current user data, and then we are putting that user data to the user model. So we need to save now that data so that we can use it elsewhere on our offline. Okay, so let's go to the landing screen. Here we should say save. Okay, save user data to shared preferences. Okay, let's await auth provider dot save user data to shared preferences, like that. So here we just check authentication. If this user is signed in, we are going to get the new data from Firestore and then save that locally, and then set is signed in. So here it should be true. Say that this user is signed in, and then after we know that is signed in, we're just going to navigate. When he's signed in, we navigate to the home screen. Okay, so now we just need to run this check authentication. Let's do init state, and then here let's do check authentication state. Okay, now let's restart our application. So let's see what the application will do. So it has restarted, and right away it has checked that is authenticated, and then it has navigated. Okay, so next let's add the logout button. So if we go to settings, maybe here, let's add a logout button. Okay, so let's go to the settings. Where is our settings? Here. So what we're gonna do here is to add the app bar. Let's add an app bar, and then let's add some actions. So let's remove this constant keyword here. So maybe let's first add a title, which is a text widget. Then let's just say settings. Let's just say settings for now, and then on the actions let's put a logout button. Okay, so we're going to say icon button. On pressed we are going to log out. Then for the icon we're going to say icon, which comes from icons dot log out. This one, we can add the constant keyword here. Then let's put some commas here. So on pressed, let's say context dot read authentication provider dot sign out user. Okay, so after we sign out, we want to navigate back to the login screen. Okay, so let's do, this will be an asynchronous, or even we can just say dot when completed here. Dot when completed, let's navigate to the login screen. So we say navigator dot push and remove until push named and remove until. Here we're just gonna say constants dot login screen. So let's import these constants. Let's say login screen. Okay, then we can go ahead and close that. So let's restart again. You can see that here it checks for authentication, then it comes in. So let's go to settings. Now let's try to log out. Okay, we are back in the login screen. Now when we restart, it will always come to this screen because we are not authenticated. Okay, great. Now let's try to log in again. Let's log in. Okay, we are authenticated. Let's restart. It's authenticating us. Okay, great. So now this is the landing screen and it's done. We can close it. Now we know that we are able to log in the application. As long as we are logged in, it takes us direct to the home screen. If we are not logging in, it takes us to the sign in screen. So authentication is done, unless you want us to do some advanced of verifying email and all those passwords. But this course is about just playing online with friend. This side of the computer is done. Now we are authenticated with Firebase. We are going now to start playing chess with a friend here. So we are going to start doing that in the next video. Thank you guys, and see you in the next video.